What up, though? It's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you without dope cast to step to, but we're back. It is Dwan Dandridge, the CEO of Black Leaders Detroit, and of course, we're coming back even stronger. He's even swoller than he was last year. None other than the Ken Elkins.
What's happening?
And a very special guest, one of the folks responsible for helping mentor the young minds in our community. Chris, the way we like to start it off is allowing our guests to introduce themselves. So what do you want our viewers to know about you?
Sure. Well, you said what up, though. I'm a Detroiter as well. Shout out to the Lions, on the great season. But Chris Waston, I'm the Director of Marketing for a nonprofit organization, transforming education here in the city and the state, but also across the country, Black Male Educators Alliance. Personally, I'm a career educator who now works in a nonprofit space. I'm still in schools every day through our programming, and it's a blessing to be able to be doing this work on a wider level, trying to make larger impact, and it's also a blessing to be here with you guys. Thanks for having us.
No, thanks for joining us. Before we dive deep into what you all have going on at BMEA, do anybody need to vent about the Lions or share their thoughts on the Lions? We are only a few days removed from them putting forth a very strong effort to get to the Super Bowl. So y'all have any thoughts y'all want to share?
I mean, Cameron did what he always do. So we shouldn't be too surprised. He always go for it on fourth down, right?
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be too surprised. Of course, we wish he wouldn't have. But if it would have worked out, we'd be like, oh, he's amazing. Yeah. You know what I mean? But when it doesn't, it's like, man, why you do that stupid move?
Yeah,
But
no doubt.
It was just exciting to get to where we are. It is. It do suck, though, because you're like, we about to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, you thinking, like, this is really about to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Then he got stolen.
Yep.
Yeah, I was actually at Ford Field, me and my wife.
Yeah. I was at Ford Field as well.
Okay, so all year she been saying, we need to go to Vegas for the, I'm like, man. I was like, you know what? You just see how much those flights cost.
Right, you look at the flights. You check the bank account, I'm going to check the flights.
And then it went downhill in the second half. But I'll say this, I've had time to analyze and
step away from it a little bit.
It was a team loss. I mean, it was a lot that went wrong.
Yeah.
So I didn't like the decisions Dan Campbell made, but there were some other drops,
some other
interceptions off of a face mask, fumble. It was a team loss. So they lost as a team. You can't just blame one person, one play. But I think they'll be back. I'm glad Ben Johnson is back.
Yeah, that was huge news.
And I'm still riding with the boys. So,
Yeah,
that was huge news.
So my thoughts are, I'm going to go off of the game a little bit and talk about some of the fans and some of the interactions that I saw, right? I was tripping on people the whole bandwagon thing, and people don't ride with us now because you wasn't riding with us. You know what I mean? This, that, the other. It's
no, ride with us now.
Right.
Yeah, but even still, right? It's are you going to stop somebody from jumping on a bit? How does that even work for you to police somebody and make them stop rooting? You know what I mean? It's one of the things that happens when a team has this type of success is you get people that are not fans of sports. Right. They're just fans of the energy in the city, right? Yeah, jumping on. Everybody was watching, you know. Yeah. And I think that, as somebody that, had a gambling addiction at one time, gamblers gamble, man.
Yeah, he's a gambler.
Gamblers gamble. And when you in their corner and you see them make a bet that's could hurt, you be scared. If they hit, you yell and scream with them.
Yeah.
If they throw a crap, you're damn.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it still hurts. I think there's something to be said about having the ballsiest head coach for representing our city. I hated the calls. I hated the calls in real time.
Yeah.
But I still understand that's who he is. That's who the team is. and you win, lose, or whatever, but you roll with them. And I think that they gave us something that none of us experienced in our lifetime. I think I'm the oldest of the three of us. So, you know, shout out to the Lions. We appreciate you all and your efforts. There's a lot of folks with hurt kneecaps around the league right now, thanks to the ride that y'all took us on. Look forward to next season.
Sure.
Definitely a stinger.
So we got that out the way.
That was therapeutic, man.
Was it? Good.
Was it?
Everybody needed that.
Yeah.
Everybody needed that,
You
right?
remember when that dude beat you up when you was trying to get him to buy you some beer? And the dude beat you. Is that how you felt with the law?
Yeah.
Did you feel like that?
That was definitely a W. That was definitely a W. We might have to have Duke on to share that story. Who told you about that story? Oh, okay. Yeah, so no. That's a sidebar conversation, Chris. We won't take you on that journey. We do want to hear, and we want our listeners to know what's happening with BMEA right now. What are you all up to?
Well, we got a lot going on, so I'll jump in and kind of just give the larger picture of what we do. Then we could talk about some of the things we have coming up. But
please.
The name of the organization, Black Male Educators Alliance. So we started back in 2017. Our founder and CEO, Dr. Curtis Lewis, was a revolutionary principal at the time, turnaround school, had started elementary school already, middle high school, and also professor at Michigan State. And we recognized there was a lack of black males in schools. You know, nationally at that time it was only 2% represented as black males. But at our school, it was like maybe 40% black male teachers. It was something that was really abnormal. And we were attracting, you know, men who wanted to come and work with us under his leadership, be a part of the staff. And we started to have these conversations on how this was not happening in other places and what could we do, like what are some of these strategies we can do to help. So that's when the organization, you know, formally started back, you know, almost 7 years ago. And since then we've evolved to really focus on whole school transformation, really transforming the entire system. So you ask yourself, well, why don't black boys or why aren't there black men going into teaching? And we say the pipeline starts from the little boy sitting in the classroom. So if you think about the experience of our black students, a lot of them are criminalized, they're suspended at higher rates, failed at higher rates. They have very traumatic and stressful experiences in school, so why would they want to return back to teach as part of a system that was oppressive to them? At the same time, while we want to, of course, increase the number of black male teachers, what about the rest of the teaching force, which we know is over 70% white female? And they are teaching our kids. We have, you know, other races, you know, black, white, males,
So what's the problem with that, right? Like speak to that a little bit for somebody that's listening and don't really understand why it's a problem for 70% of the teachers in a black school system or predominantly black school district or school to be white female teachers.
Got you. Well, I would say this. It's not that the problem.
Give us what you say when ain't no white people around and you just talking to black people that really understand the issue.
I got you. So here's what I'll say. If that white female is not responsive and in tune with her students, she's probably gonna have a struggle connecting. Therefore, that student's opportunity and chance of that student being successful is lessened. So when you understand that, and you understand the numbers, we can't just wait and say, okay, well, in 30 years when we have all these black men teachers, things will be great. We have to act now, and we act now by partnering with schools, by offering direct fellowships and opportunities to work with teachers who are currently in the classrooms so that we can begin to equip them, because a lot of school leaders, they may recognize they have a problem. Some of them say, yeah, you know, we do have a problem connecting with our students. How do we change some of these statistics that we see that's been prevalent in our schools for generations? Let's do something about it. So we partner with schools at a whole level when we offer PD on how do we bring restorative practices amongst the staff, how do we bring that to the students, how do we offer culturally responsive pedagogy that can make a curriculum that was once not connected with our kids now connect. Now they see themselves in the curriculum. They see how these problems relate to their experience, and that's how we can transform education now to start seeing students that historically struggle start to see success.
Yeah. So Ken, what's your thoughts on some of what he shared? I mean, my thoughts are not to park on the stats that he gave about what the makeup of the teachers look like. But I mean, you have children. You went to public schools in Saginaw, right?
Yes, sir.
What does that make you think about?
For me, because a lot of times we focus on, of course, the urban schools, inner city schools, and how important it is to have black teachers in urban schools. I live in the suburbs. I think it's just as important to have black teachers, because there's no black teachers in a suburban school. So that means when my daughter goes to school, she sees no professional that looks like her. The only professional she sees is white, right? So I would love, even if the movement isn't just to make sure that African Americans are represented in our urban schools, but also in the suburban schools as well, so that those black students can see people who look like them, so that their people who relate to them are in those schools as well, right? Yeah. Like, it's funny, my daughter's always complaining about one, like you were saying, one white woman teacher who she has, who always mixes her and another black girl up. But no other kids, the whole school year, do she mixed up. Because my daughter just kept struggling with me with this. I said, well, you just got to go essentially check her on it. Be like, hey, by the way, you do know I'm a Leah. Right? Like, you know that, right? And so she went and told the teacher that. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Yeah. Because you don't even care about us, right? So I say that to say, from my perspective, it'd be great if if BMEA also, worked on getting black professionals, teachers in a lot of the suburban schools.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. So we actually have fellowships where we work with current teachers, black teachers, and not all of them are, teaching in Detroit. Some of them actually do teach in, some of the suburban Grosse Pointe. We've had teachers Southfield, Novi, so they're not just only in Detroit. The teachers and the staff that we work with. With our Principal Wellness Fellowship, we have a group of principals that work with us. Some of those guys are from Detroit, Ohio. We have a guy in Grand Rapids. Some also, as far as one was in China, and he was, he zooms in. So to your point, we understand, this is a national issue that we're trying to tackle, and it's not just an urban school issue. You'll find that a lot of times schools in the city have a higher number of black male teachers than, like you said, the schools in the suburbs, which is important for us to understand because, like you said, this pipeline is going to take time. So when we have schools that reach out from the suburbs, we love to jump in and have them become part of our Liberated Learners school partnership.
What is that?
All right, cool. So remember I told you how we can partner with schools, right? Yeah. That's what that will take an innovative leader who's committed, who's saying, hey, I want to go beyond what we're seeing. Can you come in and help us? Maybe that principal is, white, black, Hispanic. We work in schools in New York, here in Michigan, all over the country, and we're coming in, we're doing whole staff PDs, and we're asking teachers to look themselves in the mirror.
For people that don't know what PD is.
Okay. I'm my teacher back. Professional development, so professional learning. So that's something that teachers a lot of times engage in. And a lot of times if the professional development is not really hitting at a need, a lot of people will tune out, right? Yeah. So it's important that your staff, they see the need in it too. So, when we have students like your daughter who may feel like she's not being fully seen, hopefully, that can get up to like maybe a school leader and they reach out. And now we help the teacher go through some experience where they sit and think, well, how would you feel if your teacher or your principal couldn't remember your name, kept getting you two mixed up? How would it make you feel? Right. So you ask teachers to be self-reflective, and that's how you can lead to some of that transformation. So that's part of it. And I also say this, when we go into these schools, if we can get teachers to be able to improve practice, to have a more communal feel, restorative nature in their classrooms, then I think we turn the light bulb on. When students have better experience as students, we believe they will be more likely to want to consider coming back into the profession. Okay. Yeah. So it's all in there, you know.
I love it. Yeah. One of the things that I can't help but like imagine or think about is it seems like we're always communicating, and I'm not saying that this is what you all do. It always feels like reminding teachers of how short they're falling, right? Mm-hmm. It feels like that's what we're always doing. I think that so many of us are aware that there are issues. I mean, if we've come up through those systems, if we have students in those systems, we're aware of all the things that are wrong. I have been able to see some of the people that are connected, affiliated, and they all seem to have that light that you have in yourself when you're talking about it.
Yeah.
But what about like the teacher that's like, they're tired. They're like, every year they got some new PDs that they're taking us through, and I still don't have the resources necessary to even educate the kids and all the other things that come along with, and I'm speaking more about like places that are under-resourced and deal with poverty, right? A lot of times the teachers are like, I'm doing more counseling and managing and caring for and, even disciplining and keeping safe and making sure kids have something to eat out of my own pocket to be able to like even have anything left to give to the thought of some of the initiatives that you all are leading. Sure. Do you run into that?
I think so. I mean, to some degree, you do. Here's the thing: we've all been teachers and leaders in schools. So when we say these numbers, it's not to put down teachers and the work that they're doing. Teachers are working very hard, And I think from people outside of education, they may hear certain stats, and that's what they think. Oh, teachers are just. But we've been in the game, so I would never disrespect the profession or the hard work that teachers are doing. And if you come across teachers that have been in our fellowships, they love it because we've been there.
Been there.
We know that
it's a difference.
It's a lot beneath the surface of those numbers or the data or the achievement level, et cetera. So one part of what we do with our teacher wellness fellowship is get at some of what you got at, right? A lot of teachers are feeling burnt out. They're feeling stressed. They're feeling not heard. And a lot of times in that school building, they don't have the space or the outlet to really express that. Yeah. So we recognize that when we went through, COVID, and this happened to be well before then, right? Yeah. This feeling of burnout, apathy sometimes that sets in. But teachers need to be in the community because sometimes, talking to your spouse, they don't always get it, or your friends. Sometimes, I would teach, come home from a long day. My wife would ask me how the day was, but I was just in my head, I'm like, I could tell you, but you don't really understand it, it just doesn't, it's not gonna hit the same.
Right.
But when you put teachers in the community where they can, express what they're going through, frustrations, they can get help and support, they can have a community where they can, lean on one another.
Yes.
They can dig deep and learn the PD and the things that is interesting to them. So as part of our fellowships, we took teachers to a conference, AERA conference in Chicago last year. And you may say, well, how does that connect with wellness and the fellowships? It's because there's sometimes this misunderstanding, like teachers don't want to get better at their practice.
Right.
A lot of times they do, but in times when they're in school, they may feel like the PD or what they're doing doesn't help them.
Right.
So we want to give teachers the opportunity to still explore, to still learn, get better. Mm-hmm. Like you identify something for yourself. Yeah. Okay. And also, how do you work on your wellness outside of the classroom? Because you're more than just a teacher. Yeah. How do we work on your physical wellness, your spiritual wellness, financial wellness? So helping them have resources through licensed therapists and therapeutic resources where they can get that as well. And what that does is it creates a system in which teachers are feeling whole again.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're feeling rejuvenated to go back into the classroom, to be able to give, because we know our teachers are giving so much beyond just teaching the curriculum. A lot of them are playing, roles of fathers, mothers, counselors, and helping out so much. And we need that to be able to sustain that. We have to be willing to pour into our teachers. And that's how you invest in them in ways other than just saying, oh, we don't have money to give you a raise, or we can help you with resources to help you in the meantime. And we'll still get that raise too.
Right.
Get the raise. Get them the raise.
Now, do you guys, so is the fellowship offered to black men?
No. So we actually work with black men.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a 2-year fellowship.
Okay.
So in the first year, we set like some foundation around identifying, the 8 aspects of wellness. We help them create a wellness plan for themselves. We help them explore and go to the conference. As we transition to year 2, we really have a focus where they're picking an identified goal that relates to their classroom practice. So all I said in that last, statement when I was speaking, the ultimate goal is to help you be recharged, to be a better educator, to be more effective, so that we see those results in your classroom. Mm-hmm. So think about if you're better, if you're feeling more well, now you have the energy to lesson plan.
Yeah.
Now you can, better engage with your students because, a lot of that stress and burden. Yeah. So we send them through a 2-year experience, and they, so far, the teachers that went through our fellowship, we're in our 2nd year, they've all remained in the profession. Okay. That's another big thing is retention. So this is a way to retain teachers as well. When national trends where we have, teachers leaving, we have teachers as well as principals in our fellowship for them staying in the profession.
Now, how does someone sign up for the fellowship?
Yep. So we just offer it off our social media and website. We put it out. We have applications. So we haven't started a new one just yet. Okay. But when we announced the first one, the response kind of blew us away. So let's think about that. We put out, posts and describe what it would be about. Yeah. But at this point, we had done other fellowships. This was new in this variation, but the response was, I think we had like over 100 applications. Yeah. Wow. In a very short amount of time. Okay. So it really told us that this was something that
people want.
And the fact that people have stuck with it. Yeah. And people, even when we were going to do it for 1 year, but they were like, no, we need to do this another year. Yeah. Okay. And that's really been encouraging for us to see. Good. So a lot of times the media will sometimes have this negative perception of teachers like they're lazy or they don't care or, that they're just leaving, and that's not the case.
Yeah. We know better than that.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people know better than that. It's like, you have one bad experience and as if we don't have, bad experiences or people in every profession. Right. I do want to get a chance to, I want to go back a little bit. Sure. So it was a thought that I was having. We talked about the 70% white women, and I think one of the things that people may not understand is that one, we are all, like it or not, fed images and messages about black men in particular. As you talk about black male students being over-marshaled and penalized and whatnot and reprimanded, right? We're all fed those images, and I think that one of the, not necessarily a fault to a white woman that's teaching in a predominantly black space, but we're all fed these images that black men are the boogeyman, right? For as early as we can start learning, we, in a very organic way, get that narrative also. We get to combat that narrative because we know ourselves. We know black men personally, you know what I mean? Right. Black women that are educators have raised black men, many of them, you know what I mean, have had brothers, fathers, and whatnot. So the white woman, white male, they don't come to the table with that lived experience. So why it's not necessarily their fault that they've received all these images, the same that we do, right? That's why we have issue with one another so often, right? But they don't have those other experiences, unfortunately. So they come with the negative messages that, like, it's hard to overcome those negative messages that we all receive, right? So often. But I just want to touch on that for anybody that's listening and saying, well, why is it a problem if, there's a teacher? We're not necessarily saying we don't want them, but if you're coming and you don't have anything to help you overcome some of the implicit biases that you've been taught, not by your own fault, but they're just there, right? So I just wanted to touch on that for anybody that's wondering, out there listening, watching, wondering, teach, go into whatever profession you want to, but understand there should always be some learning, especially if you were raised in, these United States.
Yeah, I have an interesting connection to that. So our founder and CEO, Dr. Curtis Lewis, back in, I want to say 2012, he and I was a part of this back then. This is back when I was in college. Actually, it was like 2008, going back even further. Okay. We had a mentor program for males of color, and it's an intergenerational model. And we have a version of that here with our youth development, our Black Minds Leadership Program. Okay. Now, here's the connection I want to make for you. We recognize that as early as elementary school, Black boys struggle in math. More than girls. Their white counterparts, et cetera. And even to the current day, since COVID, the scores have gone down. Math has not recovered, right? Now, in our intergenerational model, we have college students that work with Black boys in high school, and we situate those Black boys as mentors for the elementary kids. Okay. So imagine you have high school boys traveling to their neighboring elementary school and an after-school program, and they're teaching math to elementary school. Yeah. And that's what we have happening. That's a beautiful thing.
That's beautiful.
Now, here's what I noticed this back in college, because this is when I first experienced. I was the college mentor at this program I was describing then. And these were some boys that were struggling academically themselves. But they had more care, and sometimes for the elementary boy, than they had for their own. Yeah. Even if they struggle with math, they can understand the elementary school math enough that they wanted to make sure that those young boys got it. And we're seeing the same thing here, and it's an eye-opener for the teacher. We've had, white female teachers, we've had all kinds of teachers, but when they see that, because a lot of times, like you said, the perception is, high school boys, they this, and this, but them boys are caring.
Because they see themselves, right?
Exactly, they see themselves in them boys, and now those boys see themselves in the high school. Yep. So now we're helping them. We're planting to see that, hey, you can come back and be a mentor, be a teacher. Yes. But we're also in real time helping with a critical needs area, which is math. And we've seen in our first year, we've seen math scores, double-digit growth in that. And we've also been able to help with workforce development by those high schoolers, giving them a stipend to help them for their commitment. So now they don't have to, juggle. I want a job. Everyone wants money in high school. I got a high school daughter, so she wants a job, and it's so we're able to offset that their dedication with a small stipend, help put some money in their pocket, keep them from having to do other things to make money, and now it has them even more engaged with our elementary boys. So that's another way we're trying to transform education, and that's operating at 7 schools locally.
That's dope.
Love it.
And that gets them trained up again, just to naturally mentor.
Exactly.
Right, to naturally think of this as an actual career option. Like, I enjoy working with young people. It's interesting because the daughter I was speaking of, she does Key Club, so she goes and teach math to some of the elementary kids, and so she fell in love with it. Exactly. And like, hey, I want to go into teaching. I think I want to go into teaching, right? So that is a great model to do that again, to get that love of just helping young people.
That's dope. I was a math teacher too, so math. We talking about this math. Yeah, math was my thing, and I did a similar model.
You got Dwan, he's not very good with math.
Whatever. I never struggled with math ever. My man. Right? My mind works in shapes, dimensions, puzzles, and problem solving. I'm good.
I suck at math.
I did some tutoring and mentoring in high school, and that's what led me to want to become a teacher. Nice. So that early exposure does help. And I saw a Black man, shout out to my man Cedric Small, he was a teacher of mine, and I said, you know what, if I can just pattern my life off after him, I'll be successful. And that's what I did. Me and him are neighbors now, ironically.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
In the city.
I love it.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because I'm like, all my teachers are mean. Like
All of them were mean?
All of them. I had other black males in the school, like a track coach.
Yeah.
A coach. Coaches are by nature mentors, right? So I had coaches, but I think all my teachers was mean. Like,
everyone?
Every last one. And at that time, it wasn't a whole lot. I can only think of me having maybe 5 or 6 black teachers throughout my whole, black male teachers.
Okay,
Gotcha.
okay.
Throughout my whole elementary, middle school, and high school, right? Probably about 5 or 6.
Yeah. Especially if you're eliminating, like, phys ed coaches.
Right. And everyone was mean. Now, with that being said, I also was a troublemaker. So you know how we as black men was respond to troublemakers.
So it's interesting, right? So we're not gonna keep you long, but we're probably about to have a therapy session.
Let's go. My wife picked up all the kids. I'm good.
Right. So as you talk about yourself being a troublemaker, so there were times when I was a troublemaker. There were times when I thought I was a troublemaker, and I wasn't. Right. I struggled focusing at times. So I remember my father coming to drop off lunch or something for me at school, and I had to be in the 2nd grade. Must have been in the 2nd grade. I could have been in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd grade. I can't remember. But my dad came. I was sitting in the corner, away from the rest of the students. So my dad asked me when I got home, right? And he was upset. I was noticeably upset. He's like, "Why were you sit? Why is your seat in the corner?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, because I talk too much." You know what I mean? I'm like, I must be misbehaving. That's why I'm in the corner. Right. I never asked. So now he's upset. I'm in trouble. He, calls a meeting with my teacher to find out what exactly I've been doing to like get me like banished to the corner. And the next day, the teacher asks, like, "Hey, why'd you tell your dad that I put you in the corner because you talk too much?" And I'm like, that is why, right?
Right.
She's like, "No, like, I put you there because you focus better, right? When you're not like around everybody else."
Okay.
And I didn't know that.
Right.
She didn't necessarily explain that to me, but she was doing it to look out for me. But me, I internalized, probably coupled with all the other messages I've heard about us,
bad.
right?
Yeah.
That I'm probably here because I'm being bad.
Ain't that
you know
something?
what I mean?
Right.
So as I hear you say that, I wonder, like, I know you, so I'm sure that, you know what I mean? This is not me just going off.
It's pretty warranted. It's pretty warranted.
But like oftentimes we're told that about ourselves.
Yeah.
And we see ourselves through a very biased lens.
Yeah.
Even when we're looking in the mirror. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I think it could be definitely nurtured. I think I was probably a mild troublemaker. But then like you said, you're told so often that this is who you are.
Right.
That that's who you become.
like we do that all the time, right?
Yeah.
We kids around Bucks just like he bad, she bad. You know what I mean? It's
and
like
become I'm bad.
My goodness. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you a funny story. I mean, my youngest daughter, Ruby, anyone in my family watching this, they're going to know why I'm saying that. But she's a handful, right? We like, man.
How old is she?
She is 5.
Okay.
She's in kindergarten.
Shout out to Ruby.
Shout out to Ruby. And we went to her pre-K teacher. She did 2 years of pre-K, and we were like, hey, how is she? Because we're a little concerned. And she's like, yo, this girl's independent. Like, she don't let nobody influence her. She stand up for herself. So, like, the same things that at home for us is like, oh man, her teacher's literally praising her like, yo, like, nah, like, trust me, y'all got something special.
Yeah.
And so I think even, any kid that you can kind of say bad, hopefully you can be around that kid long enough till you find the good and pull it out for them to see it for themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's what it is. You got to just stick around long enough and have someone just invest a little bit more. Like, I'm glad that teacher for you, shout out to your dad, because that kind of led to a conversation that maybe that wouldn't have happened, but she came back and said, well, here's really the reason why,
I hope he didn't jack me up. I can't remember. But I hope he didn't, jack me up before he talked to the teacher. Can't take a whooping back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he probably did. He probably did. It was just like, my bad, son. Oops.
Next time, find out why you in the corner.
Find out why you in the corner. That's your fault.
Right, exactly. Back then, the dad fight, like, nah, he just needs to sit down. He can do
Right.
No, my dad was slow to give corporal punishment. He was slow to do it. He like my mom, she could unload quick. You have something coming up.
Yes, we're super excited. I mean, so last year we had our inaugural Educators Gala at the historic Charles H. Wright Museum in Detroit. Over 150 educators from all around the region came out. We had awards. It was a great time. And we're back with our second annual gala.
Nice.
This year it's going to be June 8th.
Okay.
At the same location at Charles H. Wright. You know, that location means a lot to us, just the history of the museum. Now, it's June 8th, so you may be wondering, man, that's kind of far off. But I want to say it early because we had about 150 tickets, and they went really quick last time.
Okay.
You know, people, any more spots? You know, and it was a response because this is like the only gala and celebration of this kind for educators that we know of in the state.
Okay.
So we're doing it again. We're going to do it bigger this year.
Okay.
Tickets will be going on sale very soon on our website. But we want people to know that's a great time. We honor, principal change agents, teachers, students, community change agents. It was a great time.
Love it.
And we're going to do it even bigger this year.
What's the website that they should go to?
Yep, www.blackmaleeducatorsalliance.org. If you search BMEA on Google, it should pop up. But Black Male Educators Alliance everywhere. You can find us. And, we're out in the community. Something I didn't mention is that, we believe there's some policy changes that need to occur. Some of these things are systemic. A lot of it is systemic. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of the efforts we're doing is going to help from one side of it, but the other side is that we need some policies that need to be changed when we really talk about getting serious about changing educational outcomes for our students. Having teachers be able to have, what they need to be successful. With some policies and practices at the state and, different levels that we need to see change. That's something else that we stand on.
You all are out here doing the work, and we really appreciate it. We go to places, and education is always a subject matter.
Always.
And it feels like we see different or the same people sitting on panels saying the same thing that we heard them say last year. And it's exciting and refreshing and hope-giving to know people like you and the team at the organization and some others that we're connected with. Did you have any things you want to share or say? Any other questions?
No other questions. I'm sorry, I just did have one. Mm-hmm. What is the biggest obstacle you feel right now that keeps black males from going into education? Like, what is it?
I think the biggest obstacles is just how we're educated. I mean, going back to just the practices in the schools, how black boys are criminalized. Yeah. How we are suspended at higher rates, how we don't achieve academically. And I think until we're on as BMEA, but as a system and a country really began to examine why is that and what changes need to be happening. And we have evidence, from our work and the work that we're doing. When I talk about the Black Minds Leadership Program, we see how we can activate the mind to want to achieve, how we can engage black boys at the high school level. There's models and evidence to support what we're saying. But until we take a serious approach, I don't think black boys are going to want to go back to become teachers. And I think that's the root cause of it. There's other things we can do. I mean, helping with the cost of college, and there's been some things like that to offer, scholarships and incentives to come back. That also is something that can help. I was a part of a program like that coming out of high school. Okay. Those things can attract. Because another thing, too, for the black boys that do go to college, it's not always, we're not the biggest population who are going. Right. But if you're going, if you can become an engineer or do something else, why would you want to come back to teaching?
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to think about, like, when I mentioned about the experience that our students are having, they're like, I don't want to do that. I didn't like it. Yeah. Or I can go make more money doing something else.
Yeah.
You know, so money, of course, is a big thing. But I think until we examine some of these root causes, money is only going to do so much. But it's also important, I believe.
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely in total agreement of the experience piece. Because interesting enough, I went to Fair State and I was enrolled in education. So I went to be a teacher. And then like my first semester, I just kept, I went to be a teacher because, again, I didn't know if that was the only professional I've ever seen was a teacher. You know, and always to my friends in Detroit, you're like, you know, y'all got it made. Like in Saginaw, you're not seeing a boatload of black professionals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you kind of gravitate to what you see, and so then when you have to pick a career, it's like, what do I want to do? Only thing I know is a teacher, right? So I went to be a teacher, but then once I got to Ferris, one thing I kept questioning myself was, do I really want to teach me? And it goes back to what you just said. I had a not traumatic, I don't want to say traumatic, but I had just a tough education experience due to my own fault at times, right? But if there was someone who was pulling the best out of me and not criminalizing me or punishing me, then I wouldn't think of relating teaching to that, to the punishment, to the badness of it, but to know the goodness of actually helping someone be a better part of themselves, right? And so I'm in total agreement of that, and just love and respect what you all are doing.
I appreciate that. You know, we had a meeting with our fellows last year, and Dr. Lewis was asking, he said, you know, what are you doing that will motivate or inspire someone in your schools to want to become a teacher? It was like a rhetorical question. Yeah. And, you know, to your point, going back to the teachers, they're under a lot of stress in a lot of ways. So even if they are, it's not that we're saying like, oh, you're bad. It just may be something you got to look at and say, okay, well, how can you be better? So that, you know, because, you know, we observing as kids, you see a teacher. You can tell when they having a bad day and they mad and all of that. When we talk about this holistic approach to transforming education, all those elements are important to really change the system.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming to hang out. Anybody that's going to the gala, he said it's June 8th.
June 8th, Charles H. Wright Museum. And tickets will be on sale on our website, blackmaleeducatorsalliance.org. Thanks for coming to hang out with us. Thanks for all that you do. We appreciate it. Thank you all. Yep, that is us. Another episode of Speak for Yourself. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. Peace.